You have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV.
Television addict! Television addict! Television addict!
Hello and welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for a brand new edition of the show. As always, I am Ken Reed, and I am your TV Guidance Counselor, here to talk to you about classic television. My guest today is the wonderful Monique Powell. You may know her from Save Ferris, her longtime band, still going strong today. I am a huge fan of her work and absolutely loved talking to her. If you don't know me, I am a stand-up comedian from and based out of Boston, Massachusetts, but I have a proud punk rock past. I was in the 90s Boston punk band 30 Seconds Over Tokyo and have a true love for punk rock music up to and including Save Ferris and the scene they came from. So it was great to talk to Monique. Also love 10 Things I Hate About You, which we discuss here. Big fan of her work, and she couldn't have been nicer. We had a ton of fun. Really loved talking to her about old TV. And again, one of my favorite things about this show is that I end up talking to people from all sorts of interesting backgrounds who do work that I love about something you may not have heard them talk about before. I don't know if you've ever heard interviews with Monique Powell from Save Ferris about watching Roseanne, but now you have. And it's a wonderful thing that I very much enjoy doing, and I think you will enjoy listening to it. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Monique Powell.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Monique Powell, hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing this.
I am very happy to be here.
You braved the worst weather LA has had in maybe 100 years.
Maybe 100 years.
To come out this way.
Yeah.
There was just a sea of dead palm trees everywhere.
Yeah, they were flying at me on the freeway.
Yeah.
And I was doing my best not to die.
Yeah. Well, that's always, I mean, I do that every day, I think. It's just more difficult some days than others, I guess.
Yeah.
So I plied you with a various TV guides here that I kind of guessed would be in your age range of when you probably watched the most TV. Mm-hmm. And you gravitated towards one from 1991 here with Madonna on the cover.
Yes.
This is the MTV Movie Awards era, I think, exclusive Madonna on TV. And earlier we were talking, you were saying that TV was mostly music for you, probably. You were mostly watching music on TV.
Yeah.
What were the things were you like an American Bandstand person, or were you like full on MTV all the time?
I was full on MTV all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Remote Control popped up. I think you wrote it down.
It did, yeah. I remember that show.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. MTV was just its own wonderful, new, brilliant thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And you grew up in Los Angeles proper? Or?
I'm from Los Angeles proper, and then I grew up also in Orange County.
Okay.
So,
all right. So
and then I've been here for about 20 years.
So
now.
MTV was very New York at the time, too. So that must have been somewhat exotic.
Yes, it was very exotic. Absolutely.
Do you remember when you got it? Like, did you guys have cable earlier? Did you have to go to a friend's house to see it? Or
Oh, I remember when we got it. What year did MTV start?
1981. August 1st, 1981.
I can almost remember when it started.
Were kids like talking about like this thing is coming?
I don't know if, you know what, I feel like I was sort of the youngest person I knew to watch it.
Right.
You know, I
Yeah.
think it was maybe a little bit of an older thing.
Right.
You know, so it's funny because when I was looking through all of these, I realized I didn't do that much TV watching. I watched MTV, and
Right.
that was kind of it, except for a few shows like The Golden Girls.
Well,
or,
yeah, you gotta watch
know.
the opposite of MTV.
The
I think would be
opposite.
The Golden Girls.
I was like really into Golden Girls, and I still am.
It holds up so well. Like that show is just timeless, and it helps that the leads are all older ladies, so you're not like the fashions. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, well, if you're going to talk about AIDS, cross-dressing, homosexuality,
Yep.
sex.
Quentin Tarantino as an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah. Oh my God. I had no idea. But yes, you know, it's better to be talked to about it, you know, by your grandma.
Exactly.
You know?
Because then you have a sense of just, it's not sexy.
No.
It's really matter of fact.
It's very matter, but it's also, and then they bring in a sense of humor about it, which I
Yes.
love. And so like you said, I really think that the show still stands up even today. But
Totally. And
I've been a fan since I was a little kid.
Yeah, Saturday night show, and so many people I know that are our age were like appointment television with Golden Girls on like a Saturday night. When you're
really?
like 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
Which if you had that as a phenomenon now, I couldn't imagine, I get tweens, which we were not called then, being like, I have to watch this show about retired old women. There's no way it would ever happen. It's completely ridiculous.
Never. But we were like that with Saturday Night Live, my family. And
you all watched it together?
Oh my God, we all watched it together, and I would fall asleep during the news portion, clockwork every single week. But I remember being a little baby and everyone in the family staying up for that.
Do you remember who your Weekend Update anchor was at the time? Was it Dennis Miller yet, or were you more Charles Rocket?
It was pre-Dennis Miller.
Okay, so it was either Charles Rocket or it would have been Brian Doyle Murray, or maybe it was Julie Louis-Dreyfus's husband. It was Brad Hall, might have been.
I can't even remember.
So this is the Eddie Murphy era, probably.
Eddie Murphy era, yeah. And I just can't even believe I can remember those days, but I still get excited on Saturday nights for Saturday Night Live.
And it was unusual, too, that it was a live show. We had so few live shows at that time, too.
Yeah.
And you were like, anything can happen.
Right.
Interesting, a lot of cool music. I mean, if
Lots.
you didn't have cable, that was kind of one of the major places you saw cool bands, especially in the early 80s. They were having like Kid Creole and the Coconuts on. Or, like,
it was
really weird
insane.
bands.
But then they had, all these other great performers, and it was sort of my first exposure to live music was on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, because they would play live. It was unlike American Bandstand or those other shows that would have musicians miming.
Right.
They never mimed on Saturday Night Live, and that was a differentiator in the 70s.
That's true.
Which is a weird thing.
That's true, now that I think about it. Yeah, and there was no production. Now they have like big production value to the, show part. But I like that it was just scaled down. It was kind of like seeing them in a club. Yeah. Which as a kid for me was the closest thing to seeing a live band.
What was the first band you went to go see?
My first band was the Go-Go's at Irvine Meadows.
Nice.
Now it's called something else.
That's a pretty good first show.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think maybe I was 9, and I was just so impressed because Belinda Carlisle played barefoot, and I thought that was pretty cool.
She doesn't care. She's just doing it.
Mm-hmm. And now my best friend is the bass player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The current bass player for the Go-Go's?
The current bass player, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and when I went and saw her play with them for the first time, I just started crying. I thought, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's got to be just worlds colliding like you cannot believe.
In a way I can't describe.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
You're like, I don't want to watch them side of the stage. It's too much. I need to get in the audience.
No, I did. Yeah. Exactly. I was like, I don't care about backstage. I need a seat. That's all I need.
Yeah, because I might pass out.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit down. She just played recently. She was in town like last week doing some shows with Susanna Hoffs, I think, Belinda Carlisle.
Oh,
which I missed because I think it was at Largo or something. I was so mad because it was like the day I flew in.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that.
I can't go. It's such a tease.
Yeah.
That always happens. We come out here, like the cool things are like right before we get here or right after we leave.
Oh, yeah. No. That's how I am when I travel. My friends are either there right before I get there, or right after I leave, and I'm like, darn it, I can't change my trip now.
Yeah. I'm locked in. It's one of the flights you can't change.
Right. It happens to be that kind of a trip every time.
So you guys, when Save Ferris was first kind of coming up in the mainstream on MTV, I mean the video for World Is New was on like constantly.
Wow.
That must have been very, very strange. Did you remember watching it on MTV?
I do. I don't remember seeing it all the time. I think because we were just touring so much.
Right.
I didn't really have that much exposure to television at the time, but that was really weird.
Because you're on the thing that you were watching as a kid, seeing the Go-Go's and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a trip.
Very, very. But that must have been like, yeah, we did it. We made it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. No, I mean, when I thought we made it was when I first heard us on KROQ out here on the LA
is the big
alternative
station.
Yeah. And so that was when, because KROQ was such a part of my formative years. I mean, as well as MTV, of course. But for me, KROQ was it. And so as soon as I heard that, I pulled the car over and just took a deep breath and went, okay, I can die now.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
And I think people who didn't grow up in this area, and I'm sure people have heard of KROQ, but it is like a major market college station almost for the kind of music it exposed people to, and it broke a ton of huge bands.
Yeah.
And I always remember it as being associated with like Dramaramas, anything was
Oh,
like
how
they played all the
funny.
time. And when my wife and I first came out here, we were listening to KROQ and we were like, this is great. And one of our friends who lives here was like, yeah, it's pretty good if you like Oingo Boingo. And we're like, we do. It's like Oingo
That's
Boingo
funny
song.
because I was just talking to someone about that the other day. Who was I talking to? I was talking to, my guitar player, and he and I have the same taste in music. He's kind of a punk rock aficionado.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider myself an aficionado, just a fan.
Yeah.
But a huge fan.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, we should cover an Oingo Boingo song. I was like,
that'd
oh,
be great.
heck no.
Oh.
He could not believe that I wasn't a fan.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, you grew up in that era and you listened to K-Rock and and I was like, I don't know what my problem is.
Oh,
I
man.
do not know
I could
my
totally
deal.
hear you guys doing like Stay or like one of those little
Right.
later songs. Just
I could
Another
hear
Day.
it too. I could hear it too, but I won't do it.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
I don't know why.
You gotta have a line.
But yeah, it was so Boingo town. But K-Rock was such a big deal because I have a sister who's almost 11 years older than me. And so all of my musical influence came from emulating what she was doing,
Right.
what she's listening to. So K-Rock, when K-Rock was a pirate radio station, before it had a proper dial
Right.
number.
So it would change. Like
Oh yeah, it
sometimes?
would change, and I remember her, kind of looking for it because it was broadcasting off some ship in the ocean or something. I have no idea
Yeah.
how they managed it, but I remember that, and I remember it was only English bands
Yep.
and then Boingo.
So that was when Rodney on the Rock was happening. That
Yeah.
was like the show where he's
Yeah.
breaking all these bands. A lot of
Yeah,
Runaways.
Rodney. Yeah, a lot of Runaways. And then I, remember The Cure and the Depeche Mode and the Bowie and
Yep.
all that.
So growing up in Orange County, I imagine though you kind of have to be into punk rock. This is my impression from Boston. It was like
Yeah.
Orange County. Everyone's like, "Yep, '80s punk rock." That
Yes,
that
someone
core
said
of all
that.
that stuff.
Yeah, someone said that to me the other day. Like, what was your first Orange County punk rock show? And, when I was growing up in Orange County, it was more of a ska.
Right. That third wave stuff. Was,
The third wave ska was really huge, but we did a show with TheQueers, and that would have
yeah.
been and someone got stabbed in the audience, and it was at a roller skating rink. Yeah, and it was crazy, and
I'll apologize on behalf of New England bands.
yeah.
New Hampshire's own clear.
No, please. It was like, damn, this is a punk rock show.
Yeah.
I'm here. We
Not
made
punk
it.
rock till someone gets stabbed.
Yeah. But my sister's generation, probably about 10 years earlier, was like the heyday, I think, of when punk rock was just exploding in Orange
TSOL
County.
and Channel 3
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the Circle Jerks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you were more like the lookout kind of crew in Orange County at that
Yeah.
time, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and the adolescents
Oh,
and,
yes.
and all those guys were just doing awesome. So, but then when I came of age and I started getting into ska, of course, it leads you to punk.
Right.
Eventually. And so that's where I landed.
What were some of the bands that you were into, the ska bands, when you were growing up that you would see?
Ska bands? Well, Orange County, LA ska bands were like Hepcat and
Yep.
Skeletones and Dance Hall Crashers.
Who's the guy that sang in Hepcat?
Greg?
Yeah, he was an actor and was in a ton of TV stuff.
Ton of TV
He was in
stuff.
The Flash, the original Flash in 1990.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
he's the Flash's like assistant.
Oh, how
John
funny.
Russell Shipp's assistant.
I
Yeah.
had no idea.
And I remember seeing him being like, "That's the guy from Hepcat."
Oh, how
People were like, "What are
funny.
you talking about?"
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, when I see him, he'll pop up on TV every once in a while. I'll be like, dang, you
Yeah.
are multi-talented.
Very,
Look at
very
you.
strange. But you've
Look
done
at you.
some acting stuff as well, and like
Yeah, a little
110
bit.
Things I Hate About You was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love that we were in such a cult-y sort of film.
Yeah.
Because we can go anywhere in the world. We were talking about Indonesia earlier. It's like we're in Jakarta and people are like, 10 things I hate about you. They can't speak English, but they
Right.
can say 10 things I hate
Right,
about
right.
you,
Hopefully they're referencing the movie and not just saying that. And then they proceed to list them. And you're like, oh, the irony
That's
here.
funny. That's probably happened a few times. I was just oblivious. But
So those movies, there was a weird in the late '90s sort of a resurgence of the sort of teen movies that we kind of grew up with the Hughes stuff, obviously Save Ferris being referenced there. But, the Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles stuff, there was a little blip from like 98 to 2001 that 10 Things I Hate About You was a part of. And it was sort of a perfect time, perfect place for a lot of people, I think, who are the right age to see those movies.
Yeah.
So it sticks with people for sure at that time.
I think that may be part of the reason why they wanted us in the film because, obviously the name of the band is a John Hughes reference. And it seemed to me like they kind of wanted to make it like a John Hughes type film. Right. And I think they kind of did. Like it reached its cult status and,
It has the heart of it, I think. I think you got people who grew up watching those were coming of age where they were now making movies.
Right.
So they're kind of making movies they liked watching when they were growing up.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's, we stayed at the Millennium Biltmore one year just because it was in Pretty in Pink. It's like where the prom scene is. And
my husband was in that prom scene.
is he really? Wow. Can you pick him out?
We did a couple years ago. It was on TV and we paused it and then slow played it and we could kind of see him jumping in the audience a little bit. At one point they're doing like a conga line somewhere in there.
So probably no music.
Yeah, probably to no music. And that's weird when you're filming a scene like that and there's no music and people are dancing. They're
weird. All at slightly different rhythms and then
it's so weird. I mean, at least play a click track or something.
Yeah, or just be like, we're not going to use this song because we don't have the rights, but we'll put another song in later that's sort of similar.
So weird. Yeah. And you can tell too. Like, do they think we're stupid? When we're watching the movie and there's a crowd scene of people dancing, we know that you're not dancing to anything because there can't be a room full of that many people that have no rhythm all in one place at one time.
I grew up in a very white area.
Oh.
And it does happen occasionally, but so many different, you'll have someone who's like pogoing and then someone like waltzing and it's just like, they're totally different speeds and you're like, no, this you've gone too far now, backtrack.
That's funny.
So that's an interesting segue into one of the things that fascinates me about people who've grown up around here was you probably knew people who were in things or, backgrounds in movies and so many things shot here.
Yeah.
Does that kind of ruin watching things for you a little bit when you're, watching a movie and it's the culmination of this tragic love story and you're like, oh, I know that guy.
I wonder if it ruins it. That's a good question because it is when you live in LA, seeing people who are actors in your daily life. You see them at the CVS or the drugstore, or you see them at the market or whatever. It does kind of ruin it, I think.
Yeah,
it does. And then you always know it's being in the entertainment industry and then being from Southern California and born and raised in and around Los Angeles, you do all the time. You see people that oh, look, so-and-so got a commercial. That's great.
Or even locations, like you're like, this isn't Ohio.
It does kind of ruin it now that you see, like, oh, they're on Ventura Boulevard. What are they talking about?
Why are they wearing winter clothes?
Right. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, it does kind of ruin it.
Because I waited way too long to come out here for some reason. I don't think I came out until I was like 30.
Yeah.
And it was mostly because, all my New York and Boston friends who were all miserable being from New York and Boston are always just like, oh, fuck, LA sucks and everyone. And so you kind of buy into that. And then you come out and like, no, it's really nice and everyone's in a good mood and there's tons of stuff to do. But I was so excited to see all these familiar places from things I had watched forever.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a double-edged sword because now when I watch things, I'm like, oh, no, now I can recognize that exact house. And like we always go from like to the house from Nightmare on Elm Street is like right off of the Sunset Strip.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's right by, it's not too far from, not the Comedy Store, but the
Improv?
Yes, it's right near there.
Right, like the Sunset Plaza off of Sunset Plaza.
Yeah, it's like those weird. That one thing that totally weirded me out, but is super cool here, is where you'll have like Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard, urban, and then in between, incredibly suburban street that you can't believe is even closely related to these places.
Yes,
and it's on one of those little side streets, and it's kind of right across the street from the houses from the movie Halloween as well, which is super weird.
So weird.
Yeah.
You know what? I bet you that's in like one of those star maps or something. something. Like,
Yeah.
or somebody needs to put together a book of like all those houses.
Yeah.
Maybe you should do it.
Maybe I'll do it.
Because I would do that tour.
It's fun, and the weirdest one too is when you're just driving somewhere and you're like, something is familiar, and you kind of have to like reverse engineer why you know that place.
Yeah.
So it's fun, but also does ruin it a little bit. But
Yeah.
I imagine just being here forever, it would be very difficult for your suspension of disbelief to be at a
That's
normal
true.
level.
I heard one of the Ferris Bueller houses is out here too.
I think it is, yeah.
It's off. I think that might be off of Sunset as well.
Yeah.
One of the big mansion houses.
Yes, yeah.
And then another one of the houses is like in Michigan, I thought.
Yeah, in Chicago, like the rich part
Chicago?
of Chicago.
Oh,
yeah, that
okay.
north side Chicago thing. Yeah,
But yeah, somebody should do that.
that would be
And
very
we
cool.
could see all the houses from
Yeah.
all of the movies.
They're probably
like,
all
ever.
located in very similar spots, I imagine, too.
Yeah.
Like the Brady Bunch house. Have you ever gone by that? That's in the
Is that
valley.
here?
It's in the valley. It's
that's in the valley?
Yeah, it's right near Burbank.
See, maybe you need to put out this book.
Maybe I should put out this book.
I think you
Yeah.
should, because I would definitely buy it. And I would do the tour.
Yeah, Saturday
For
afternoon,
sure.
grab a coffee and drop by the Brady Bunch
For
house.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just sit outside the Brady Bunch house and have my cup of coffee and freak people out
I
that
think
live
people,
there.
like you're staking them out.
Just
Someone's under suspicion.
be
in
like,
here.
no, dude, I'm just having my coffee with you this morning.
That's gonna be a thing that people gotta get used to, I imagine, when they move out here. Because if like you buy the Brady Bunch house, people are gonna come by your house. Like
Right.
it's gonna happen. And there are some
Right.
people who are mad about it, but it's like,
Why
it's
would you
the
be mad about it?
Brady
You bought
Bunch
the
house.
Brady Bunch
Yeah.
house and you live in
had to
Los
know.
Angeles. It's
Yeah.
like my cousin lives off of Sunset Plaza, and we go to a birthday party in the front of the house, and there's Star Tours,
Yeah.
Star
TMZ is coming
yeah,
down,
to TMZ bus coming by, and we're like, this is really weird, but this is a part of your existence if
Yeah.
you live in Los Angeles.
Because people have like a life and do real things here. Like go
Yeah.
to the pharmacy and the grocery store and whatever.
Yeah, and then the TMZ bus is driving by and honking and waving
Right.
at you because they just automatically assume that you are someone of note just because
Right.
you live in this area or something like
Right.
that's kind of weird.
Well, everyone is very beautiful out here, which is true.
You think so?
Oh, totally. But in the weirdest way, because you have, all these people who came here because they were like, I'm the prettiest girl in my high school in Minnesota, and I'm going to move out
That's
to,
true.
and then they don't make it in the industry, but they have a kid, and their kid's like a mailman, or and they're married to the hunkiest guy in Duluth who
Yeah.
moved out here. So it's like even the guy pumping your gas is like a handsome fellow, or like
a
the girl at
very
the
good
bakery counter.
point.
It's very, very odd.
I never thought about it like that. When you travel the rest of the United States, you do realize how different Los Angeles is.
Yeah. Was the first
Appearances
time
are
you
different.
traveled when you were touring?
Yeah. I mean, I had been to New York and, whatever, Mexico, and that was about it,
Right.
really. But San Francisco. But I hadn't really, stopped and taken a look at the rest of the country until we toured.
So what was that? Was it shocking?
At the time, yeah, because
Yeah.
I was the only girl traveling with 10 or 11 other guys.
Yeah.
And, we'd stop at the Waffle House at 3 a.m. and people would be wondering,
What is this?
what's your deal,
Yeah.
lady?
Yeah, you're not from around here,
No.
kind of thing.
And
the
we would
needle would
be-
scratch off the record.
Totally. That's how it felt. That's definitely how it felt. But now I have a lot more of an appreciation for the rest of the country. I think my dad's family is from North Carolina. And
Okay.
From Wilmington, from a small town out there, and I love going out there to see them. And it is, though, I mean, I stand out like a sore thumb out there, and I try
Hollywood
and dial
people.
it down a little
Yeah.
bit, but it doesn't help at all.
I mean, you probably your barometer of what is just like not even acceptable, but just like this is no one looks twice when I dress like this.
Right.
Out here is totally out of whack with the rest of the country. Not as much now.
Yeah.
Things are a little bit different. And like when we were growing up, if you saw someone with like a studded belt or pink hair, you were like, we probably like the same things.
Right,
But
right.
now, like your cashier at Target has that, and they're wearing a Motorhead shirt, and I've never heard of them or something.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're like,
You're not allowed to
the
do
secret
that
code is
in my
gone.
world. Yeah.
I don't
No,
understand
you're not allowed.
anything.
You're not allowed to wear a shirt in my world of a band that you can't name at least one album and 3 songs.
Yeah, or even
That's
like
my
a
rule.
member.
Yeah, or even a member.
It'd be funny if that was like you go to a store and you're buying a shirt and they're like, please fill this out.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like a credit
yes.
report. You're like, you can let me talk to my manager. You got one wrong, but we'll see if we can. You can have the shirt, but you're gonna have to buy this album with it, or something like that. The little
that's
packages.
funny. That's
a
a really good
money-making
idea.
thing.
Yeah, that's another thing you should do. You
All
should
these
invest in a
$1 million
store.
ideas.
You
I
do.
just got to get people come in on the ground floor. So, was there any local music shows? There was a show that I remember. I don't think it was on the Z channel, but it was something like that I have like bootlegs of from like the late '80s here. I can't remember it now. That I used to get because I used to watch this thing called New Wave Theater. That was an LA-based show that used to air on the USA Network here, and it was where I saw a ton of amazing bands like the Screamers and the Cramps played on it and all this stuff like that.
Oh my God! I wish my husband were here because I know he probably watched that show.
Yeah. It was just being from Boston, which is so far away from here. It was very exotic to see, these amazing things that I'm like, everything's coming out of there, and it's all. And we were getting in the late '80s, all this LA art and punk stuff was becoming in the mainstream stuff. Like Pee Wee's Playhouse is the prime example.
That was an LA thing.
Yeah, it was.
I did not know that.
So they shot the first season in New York in a warehouse, but the second season was here. But all those people were LA like underground punk and comedy people.
Yeah,
and they had like Gary Panter, who had done flyers for the Screamers, designed all the sets, and Rob Zombie designed stuff before he was doing music for Pee Wee's Playhouse, and it was like that weird aesthetic of like monsters and 50s stuff.
Yeah.
And,
well, I knew of the association. I'm a big Pee Wee's fan.
Excellent.
I'm a big Pee Wee fan, but I knew how these people were somehow associated with the show, but I didn't realize. For some reason, I just thought it wasn't an LA thing.
Yeah,
because it was
seems so normal.
Well, no, it was so cool.
Yeah.
That. There's no way it was like the Los Angeles brainchild.
Right.
For some reason I feel like things that come out of LA have already been done before.
I see.
The
innovation comes from elsewhere.
Innovation comes from elsewhere.
That's interesting.
No.
That might be a having grown up here thing. You just assume that like anything new must be from New York or London.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we just
That's
make
a
it
good
brightly
point.
colored over here when it gets
Right.
over here.
Right.
Neon it at that point.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other things you have down there? The first show you had was
Mama's Family.
Mama's Family. You watched Mama's Family.
I did. I loved Mama's Family. And I put Jerry Falwell down too because I watched it just because I found it fascinating because I grew up Jewish. And I thought Jerry Falwell was really interesting.
Yeah, there's no Jewish version of a Jerry Falwell type thing.
No.
I'd watch that if there were.
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
it would probably be just like going to shul on a Saturday, on a Saturday afternoon. But
enormous in the 80s and 90s.
Huge. Tammy Faye.
Yes.
I loved Tammy Faye.
She hosted a talk show with Jim J. Bullock for a while in like the mid to late 90s.
I think I remember that.
Very weird.
I think I remember that. I was a huge Tammy Faye Baker fan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just found I loved her theatrics and she just seemed so loving and
it was
kind.
that huge controversy too when was it Jimmy Swaggart was on TV because he had that famous like crying clip where he's like I'm a sinner and just crying.
I remember
and
that.
Then there was some I forget the controversy. It was Tammy Faye Baker's wife. There was something and her husband. That was the controversy. She had a wife.
her husband had an affair.
Or something.
Yeah.
So it was just like
and then her crying and
yes with all
which
that
was
eye
also,
makeup.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
and that was the theater. That was the theater of it all that I found so fascinating as a kid. I thought she's just putting it all out there
for a very serious thing because it wasn't like it was almost like Liberace Jesus.
Oh my God, yes.
Another $1 million idea
and a t-shirt.
Yes.
That's your next t-shirt.
Liberace Jesus would be fantastic.
You are a very intelligent man.
He only plays hymns, but like kind of Little Richard style, which would be fantastic. But that stuff is fascinating, especially and probably seem kind of exotic if you're growing up Jewish. This like very strange Christian pomp and circumstance of this huge, Vegas style Christianity. Almost is the way it goes.
And at the time, it was very common to think that Jews were going to hell,
right?
Which I thought was also very funny. I thought that was a big part of the theatrics as well. I thought, that's kind of funny that they think that's going to happen to me because I don't know if I believe in any of it. Heaven, hell, I don't know what any of it is, but it's still just pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, them telling us over and over again what hell we're going to.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. It's happening. I will still sometimes watch those shows when I'm flipping through, and I've noticed more of them out here. Many in languages I don't understand, but a lot of them, and I will just hear like bizarre just to hear the weird quotes, because there's only so many things they can talk about, so they're constantly trying to like hip it up and see like which references they can put in there, or, like if they're throwing a Katy Perry lyric or something.
Oh yes, and they're
fun.
like, and they're really creepy, sort of brainwashy bands where you watch it and you think at first, well, this is just a band.
Yeah.
This is just a regular, and then you listen a little bit more closely and you start to think there's something different.
Yeah.
You know, and they start to get you. They really start to bring you in. The next thing you know, you're singing Bible hymns.
Yes, and then you're in a church, and then it's all over. from there.
You're in a church.
There was a
fainting.
weird phenomenon of Christian pop punk and ska punk bands in the 90s.
There was.
We encountered them all the time.
All
when we
the
would tour.
time.
It was
so
very weird.
Weird.
Like MXPX was probably the biggest one that kind of broke through, I think. And then
Were they?
yeah,
Were they that? I
They
didn't
kind of
even
dropped
know.
it later, but
they
at
did.
the beginning
I didn't
they were.
even know.
I remember we played it. I can't remember the name of the band. And the thing that I was very mad about was most of the ska punk Christian bands didn't even bother to have good pun names. Which, you know, if you have the Christian in the circle, like, come on, you know.
Right.
But like you could. Psalm Spirit of 69, something. I don't know what you could possibly have, but it would be good. But yeah, I remember this one band we played with, and they were like, "You're the first secular band we've played with."
Oh my gosh, I think we experienced that too.
Really
what was
weird.
The name? I can't even remember the name of the bands, but that was really
It was a
weird.
little blip. I don't know why. I guess they were like youth culture music, so this will be the inroad for all this kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, and they were smart. They figured that if they could infiltrate our scene, that they could get a bunch of new, I don't know, what would you call them? Parishioners?
I guess so, yeah, because it's like kids that are into being a part of a thing. Let's give them a slightly different thing.
Yeah.
And then it didn't kind of stick with the pop punk ska-core, and they just
No.
moved to hardcore, and they were like, oh, these people are much easier to convince.
Wow, really, really weird.
Yeah.
Such an interesting recruitment technique, though, when you think about it. It's
It
very
is
smart.
very weird. I remember there were like there were scare news reports about that kind of stuff on like 2020, where they were like kids going into cults through these bands like the Moonies. We're like getting people into like they'll give your kids a record and they'll love it, and then they're in the Moonies. It's really weird.
That's smart. That's I mean, if I was a Moonie, I would probably do it that way too.
I would think
Get some
so.
awesome sounding bands and throw them in with the mainstream and make it happen.
Lure them in.
Yeah.
There was a lot of punk rock scare stuff that we would get in the mid 80s, late 80s. I don't know if you remember seeing any of that stuff, but there was like a Punk Rock Chips episode where
I
Ponch-
remember. I've seen that.
Yes, that one's great. And the Quincy episode, which is fantastic. Someone gets stabbed at a punk rock show, and then Quincy has to come in.
Oh my
And he's like, "This is a murder."
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, it's really
I never
great.
saw that one.
It's really great.
But I think I remember seeing on Facebook or something, I think it was maybe out of a TV guide or something like that. It was like
The Day My Kid Went Punk.
The Day My Kid Went Punk. Was
Yes.
that a TV guide thing?
There was an after school special.
That was
with
it.
Jay North, who was in The Boy Who Could Fly and a bunch of other stuff.
Uh-huh.
And he was, it was an after school scare special, The Day My Kid Went Punk. And it was like totally serious. And it was about, this kid who was just a real good kid. And one day he shows up and he's got green hair and a safety pin through his face. And his parents are horrified. And I think his dad was played by the guy who was the doc on Love Boat.
Oh my
Which is
God.
super weird. And then he works at
I love it.
it's summer vacation, and he's working at a like a daycare center.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the parents are like, I don't want my kid near that punk rocker. And the owner of the school has to be like, he's a good guy. They're just like us. It's very, very strange.
I need to see that. Do you have it?
I have it.
Okay, you're gonna have to.
hook you up with it.
You have to
I'll
hook
get
me
you-
up with
I'll
it.
get you a DVD.
I need to see it.
It's
I need that like
fantastic.
I need air. I need it.
It's fantastic. And we don't have that
Jeez.
stuff now.
I was just going to say that times have really changed, and my husband and I talk about it a lot. Like, what's the next punk rock going to be? Remember when you'd walk down like Melrose or Hollywood Boulevard and you'd see real punk rock
Oh, yeah.
kids? I mean, I don't know.
It was like Harvard Square in the Pit
You
was
had
that version.
yeah, and you'd see it. And then I remember a time in the 90s where I'd see punk rock kids, but they'd be wearing $2,000 jackets
Yeah,
and
yeah.
panhandling, and I'd be like, no, honey.
Yeah.
I know how much that jacket cost you.
I've seen
I'm
that
giving
on
you
sale.
no money. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used
right.
to get-
You didn't make that.
We still have this phenomenon in Boston. There's like rich punk rock kids. They're more like crusty punk kids now.
Yeah.
But they'll like move to Harvard Square for the summer, and I'm going to be homeless for the summer.
Oh, it's so
And
weird.
then they'll panhandle, and I know it, and I'm like, you know, I don't dress like I did when I was a teenager. We're not that dissimilar, so it's probably not obvious that I, you know, like the band that they have on their shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I don't have anything, and they'll be like, fucking loser. And I'm like, you have more money than I do. I work full time. I'm not giving you any money. Very weird. Very strange.
Well, we don't even have that anymore.
Right.
Around here. I don't even know. I miss it. I don't even know what we have that would be the equivalent. I don't think we have anything that would be the equivalent of like real punk rock kids.
I don't know if you can have a huge youth movement on that level anymore. I think that it's so microcosms, and there's so many micro little scenes that like one band is a whole genre now. And they
Right.
all just kind of, you know, even stuff like MTV, which, you know, everyone was always, oh, MTV, sell out, whatever. But when I think back at the stuff that I got exposed to through MTV, like the young ones,
Right.
and
Oh
these
my
punk rock shows, you know, in 120
God.
minutes was always airing, you know, these underground amazing bands. Like I first heard Bad Religion on 120 minutes, and like
Oh, wow.
1991 they played a video off Generator or something like
Wow.
that. So it's like, you know, for those of us who don't have a KROQ, and we were lucky enough to have a really good college radio in Boston, but that was only within, you know, 5 miles of Boston.
Yeah.
You know, there's kids in the Midwestern places that don't have these stations, that MTV is pretty great for them getting exposed to that kind of stuff.
Right.
So there's not really a thing like that.
There's
now.
not a thing. And we're a lot more accepting, I think, of like fashion and language now than we used to be.
Yeah. It's not
You know, it's funny you brought up the young ones. I was obsessed.
Yeah.
Obsessed. My first junior high photograph was me wearing a Young One shirt. I wore a Young
Excellent.
One shirt.
With the
from-
4 faces, was it that one?
No, it was the one with Vivian.
Oh yeah.
And it said "piss off" on it. My sister
Excellent.
got it for me in England. Yeah, I think that was
You wore that in your school
7th
photo?
grade. Yeah, in my school photo.
And they were cool with it.
Yeah, I don't know if they understood what it meant. You know, because I don't think they got it, and I don't think I even knew what it meant.
Right. It just seemed cool.
I just knew that I loved that show, and it made me laugh.
I had a shirt on in high school of the Queers, the band The Queers,
Uh-huh.
which did not register with me for. I mean, obviously, I know what gay people are and did then,
Mm-hmm.
but it just was like, no, it's the band The Queers. Like, you know, when you're a kid, you don't, for whatever weird
But
reason.
do you think that's what they meant? Or do you think they
so.
meant strange?
I think they were trying to come up with just like knowing New England
Yeah.
and knowing the New Hampshire they're from.
Yeah.
I think they were probably like, what name can we name ourselves that'll really piss off all these people?
Oh.
And, you know, if you're thinking in the early 80s in homophobic New Hampshire, that's probably what it was.
You think so?
I think so. You know, it could also be just strange.
Yeah.
So I had this shirt on, and you know, all the teachers thought I was odd, and kids did as well. And I just assumed they all thought I was gay. And I remember this Spanish teacher pulled me aside after class, and she was like, Ken, that's really not the way to tell people that sort of thing.
Oh.
And I didn't know what she was talking. I really was like, what are you talking about? And she's like,
Right, because it's just a band name.
Yeah, I
we
was
didn't
like,
know that there was any meaning behind it.
and
Yeah.
which now seems ridiculous. Like, obviously. And then I was like, I really didn't know. And she's like, you're wearing a gay shirt. And then I was like, no. And she wouldn't hear it, so I just had to be like, okay, thank you.
You're wearing a gay shirt.
Yeah, but now, you know, like, you didn't even think of it. It's very, very strange.
That just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Gay shirt.
Yeah.
I love it.
Which I guess it was in a weird way. But the young ones, yeah, I mean, bands like Madness and Rip Rig and Panic and
Yeah.
The Damned is the one that I always cite,
Yeah.
where I didn't know that was my favorite thing on earth till I saw it on the young ones. And I was like, yes, this exact thing.
Yeah.
And
That was another one of those shows, yeah, with the live bands and.
do you know why they had bands on it?
Why?
So this is really weird. They were all these guys that started this alt comedy thing in London at the time, and they got signed to do a sitcom, but they were looking through the budgets at Channel 4, and it was very strict, kind of, this kind of show gets this budget, and this kind of show gets this budget, which is weird. But variety shows got a bigger budget, and they were like, what would make this show a variety show? And they're
Oh my
like,
God.
well, a musical act. So they
I
had
had
a
no
musical act
idea.
in just for the budget bump.
Oh my God.
Which is why it doesn't make any sense in the context of the show ever. It's a sitcom. They're like, hey, here's Madness.
Oh.
Which is great.
Oh my God.
But I love that it was just born out of like, we don't want a little more money.
Oh
What can we do?
man, I had no idea. That is really cool.
Really fun loophole for getting some weird stuff.
That's really interesting. Oh my God, I love that show.
I love that
still
show.
to this day love that show.
I watch it all the time still, pull it. It's like a comfort show.
It is.
That
It's
is
a
put on.
comfort show. That and
Yeah.
the Golden Girls. Those are my
Yes.
comfort shows.
Similar shows in a lot of weird ways. I guess so. Like Vivian would be Blanche, maybe.
Maybe Blanche.
What would the parallels be? I guess Rose would have to be Neil.
Neil, definitely Neil.
Yeah, and B. Arthur would have to be. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know who that
Yeah,
one
we'll
would
have to
be.
think this one out, but it's
We'll have to think
yeah,
it out.
It's got to have parallels at some point.
It's
yeah.
4 and 4, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is 4 and 4.
Yep.
Huh.
I guess that. No, Rose might not Rose.
I think Rose would be Neil.
Neil. She's definitely Neil. That's the
For
easy
sure.
one. That's the easy one.
Yeah.
And I think that the mother, Sophia, is probably Vivian. Because she's the anarchy.
Yeah,
she's the,
you know
she's
what?
the one that, really is always insulting them and stuff.
That's true. Either that or B. Arthur, I think.
Yeah. Some people
Interesting.
write in and your guesses on this. We're recasting both shows with the
Yeah.
opposite cast. We'll have a little crossover.
I
with
think
these
that
shows.
yeah, people should write in
Someone
for
needs
sure.
to CGI that.
And I
would
want to
watch that.
know what people say. too.
Yeah, I'm
you
curious.
have to
Like a
follow
little
up with
test.
me.
Yes, absolutely. I'll let
me
you know what people say.
Because that would be amazing. Like doing if someone did an artistic rendering of
Yes.
the Golden Girls via the Young Ones.
I know exactly the person who will do this, actually. My friend Mike does a thing called Be a Day, where he draws a picture of B. Arthur every day as a different thing. This has just hit me.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike Dennison, I'm
I
getting
will
him on
buy.
this. Yeah.
I will purchase.
Yes, Mike Dennison, I'm going to call you after this. and
Okay,
we're
I
doing
will
Young
either
Ones.
purchase or I will steal off
Yes,
of the internet and
fantastic.
make a giant picture in my
Yes,
house of it.
above
because-
the couch.
Yes.
This is an above the couch style photo. This
It
is what we
is.
need. This art. We're creating art here.
We are.
But to the point of comfort shows, like MTV, what you had said was you would just watch it all day.
Yeah.
And that was very new. Like we're watching TV the way we listen to the radio.
Oh,
where you just
yeah.
put it on and go about your day. And it wasn't necessarily appointment television, like you have to watch the show at this time, like Saturday Night Golden Girls, and you could just kind of have it on and get
Yeah.
exposed to all this stuff.
That's true.
And Remote Control was their first show they produced that was a show.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Because
Was it
I
the-
remember really liking that show. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember being sort of obsessed with that show.
Yeah.
And little did we know that was going to be
The future.
the future of MTV.
But even that show was so much more. MTV at that time was producing stuff that all had the same vibe. Like you knew what you were getting. Like it had this like kind of youth culture thing.
Right.
And you kind of felt like they were just getting away with stuff. And it was probably our age as well, but it seemed a lot less thought out. And
Yeah.
you kind of knew whatever show they're going to put on, I'm probably going to like it because it's going to be in this same kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And now I don't even know really what the vibe is. It's always like 16 and pregnant every time I turn that station on. Is that the show?
is.
Yeah, my sweet 16 and pregnant.
Yeah. I have no idea. I
yeah.
don't even cross MTV anymore.
Yeah, it's
I don't even.
the day I
pass by
realized
it on
I was
my
too
guide.
old to even apply for the real world. was when I was like, it's not for me anymore.
Not for me anymore.
Not for me anymore. Not at all. Would you get recognized from the video and stuff when you were doing the MTV stuff? Because it was still kind of the last gasp of them showing music in the late 90s.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, I would get recognized from that and the movie and from shows and stuff. Los Angeles is kind of funny because, like, if someone recognizes you, they don't really say anything to you. They just sort of talk to the other person
And
standing
tell them
next to
who you
them
are?
and tell them who you are and think that you don't hear what they're saying.
Right.
Which is kind of funny. But
I do find that whenever you go in anywhere here, people they're like, are you a famous?
There's a
they
lot of
kind of do
that.
that look.
yeah.
Which in some respect is flattering because I'm like, I am no one.
Yeah.
But you didn't even
Just
dismiss
walk
me
in
completely.
like someone.
With my
There's a
jacket over my head?
Yeah, there's a cafe I'm probably going to go to after this. You guys should
Oh,
come
yeah,
with
yeah.
us. And that's a place like that.
Yeah.
Where you walk in and all of a sudden everyone goes like this.
Yeah. Who are you?
Who are you?
Should I slyly take a photo of you?
Or should I start talking about you with the person
Yes.
I'm having lunch with?
With the hope that you'll come over. And
Or
be like, I
the-
couldn't help but hear.
Yes. Thinking that you don't hear me when
Yeah.
you actually do.
We're good friends now. Or unless they're just like, oh, I hate them. I hate everything they do. The worst would be if you just walked in somewhere and they were like, there's no way you're anybody. I'm not even bothering to look. Like, that's the day when you're like, oh, it's not even a possibility at this point. What else we got? We got Roseanne, which
Yeah.
great. The last great blue collar TV show.
I agree. I still watch that to this day.
Yeah, that show is the show when, if people ask me, which they do, what TV show family is like the most that I feel like there's my family. It's always Roseanne.
Yeah.
And then they're horrified.
Yeah, and then they're horrified. I love Roseanne.
Yeah.
I love that they kept that. What I really loved about it was that they were born into these circumstances, but then they still kept a sense of humor about it. And that's, and I love that.
Yeah.
And I think even the humor now is still sort of cutting edge. It's a little blue.
Yeah.
Even now, it's
the kind of things you can say to your family.
Yeah,
And if someone else from
exactly.
outside the family said it, you would all rally together against them. But it's like, that's my brother. I can say that to him.
right. Totally.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
I always say it was a gallows humor show because
Exactly.
it's grim. Like, they're always losing their jobs and their businesses are shutting down.
Yeah.
And it's real life grim too. It's not like the sort of sensational, horrible things that always happen in TV shows where it's like, how many people do you know that have been hit by trains?
Right.
Like once a year, or like,
Right.
you know, they're hijacked or something. But it was like, we can't pay the mortgage, or like they're shutting off the electricity, like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Where I'm like, that happens.
And they kept the sense of humor about it, which, I mean, I feel like that's just how I try to do life.
Yeah. I mean, sense of humor is a defense mechanism. I mean,
Right.
Knowing that all the comedians I know,
Yeah.
none of them were like, had the best childhood ever. My family's fantastic.
Right.
Because you just don't develop that skill, I think, with that.
And for me, the darker, the better.
Yeah.
With humor.
Yeah.
I think, because I feel like once you laugh at something, you can't be afraid of it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first person who said
No,
this.
but it takes
I
the
mean,
power away from it.
It does. You can't be afraid of it anymore once you laugh about it. So I like that about Roseanne, was they'd encounter all of these, like, and as a kid, you know, you have stuff happen in your life,
Yeah.
and it feels like the most dire thing in the world. Like you're gonna die.
Yeah, because you've not survived that yet.
Right.
Later you go, oh, that's okay.
Oh yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done this 5 times already.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Roseanne was I liked that show because of that.
I enjoyed the teen angst on that too, because like Darlene was like a normal teen angst.
Right.
I'm like, she's kind of
She
gothy.
was,
She reads
wasn't
comics.
she?
But it's not like it's not the day my kid went punk. you know?
Right? Oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that.
It's
But yeah.
more, you know, your real experience of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we started to get that too in the mid to late 90s, where it got a little smarter about that stuff. And I always call it kind of like the sassy generation, where it was like, if you compare like Teen Magazine to Sassy, it was like a little more respectful, and they kind of knew a little more about
generation.
stuff.
Yeah.
We got My So-Called
That's
Life.
Brilliant.
and
Yeah, totally.
It was aimed at mostly teenage girls, although some teenage boys did read those sorts of things, but by people who knew about it, and not like some old man who was like, this is what they like, Sean Cassidy.
Yeah.
Get rid of that poster in there. It was like it made more sense, I think, and people
Yeah.
connected with it a little more.
Yeah.
We get Cosby Show.
Cosby Show.
Which, separating the man from the art, is still a great show.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
So
it's
funny.
just a life so completely different than anything I had ever known or seen.
Right.
They lived in a different place. They were wealthy. He's a doctor, and
So
yeah.
New York.
So
Such
New
a very
York.
New York show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that show. I found it funny.
And weirdly, one of the few sitcoms in the 80s that shot in New York. Because most of them that
really?
were set here, were set in New York, shot here on like backlots.
Huh.
But that actually shot in New York. There was like 3 shows that shot in New York that were sitcoms.
Wow.
The way I figured that out as a kid was, I don't know if you remember Friday Night Videos, NBC's Friday Night Video show for people without cable. They would at 11 o'clock
I
on the
don't
Saturday
remember
Night
that.
Live slot,
Uh-huh.
they would show videos for an
Uh-huh.
hour and a half. And they were always having kids host. And it was always the kids on those New York shows. So it's like Malcolm Jamal Warner hosts.
Oh
this
my
week
gosh, how
because they were
funny.
there. And it was, eventually I was like, they're not flying these people in. They're in New York. I get it now.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
I weirdly figured it out, and it was not helpful in any way. It was not something that would be useful to me in any way. Did you ever go to a taping or anything when you were out here? I feel like most people were just getting constantly recruited to go into audiences.
Roseanne.
You went to a taping of
I
Roseanne?
did. I went to a taping of Roseanne because a friend of mine played the love interest of.
Oh, wow.
what's her name? The daughter we were just talking
Darlene.
about. Darlene.
Oh,
No, not Darlene. Darlene.
Johnny Galecki?
No, Jared Rushton.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
He played the love interest, but early on.
Yeah. So you got to go to a taping and you already enjoyed the show and were into it at this
Yeah,
time?
I think I went once or twice to one or two tapings, actually.
What was that like? Were you...
It's funny because
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that until just now. I found it very interesting. It was my first exposure to live television,
Right.
live taping, I guess. Yeah,
It takes a lot longer than you think it will.
it does.
I mean, you're there forever.
It
They have
does.
the warm-up guy coming out to keep you guys from like just passing out and all that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and the applause sign
Yeah.
and all of that.
For a 22-minute show, I mean, the tapings are like 3 hours long.
They are,
Yeah.
yeah. But I remember it being kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think Jared showed me around, he showed me around the set, and I got to see his trailer. And
That's
stuff like that.
amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a show that you watch and you're walking around in their living room, basically. And it's-
Basically, yeah.
And it didn't ruin the show for you.
No, not at all.
It probably made it more exciting. at
Yeah,
that
I
point.
loved the show. Yeah, that's interesting.
Did you do you remember watching the episode on TV that you saw taped? And
Every
kind
once in a while, I'll see it.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that is so weird.
I remember this take. It was like the 50th time they had to do this one. I was
Yes.
there for this.
Yeah.
Maybe you can hear my laugh.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Been
Yeah.
blazing forever on Roseanne. That's pretty amazing.
We've kind of all, I mean, it's funny because you asked earlier, if it ruins it for us being from Los Angeles. And it's funny. It's like finding my husband in the prom scene of 16 Candles, or Pretty in Pink, sorry. And, my sister like going online and finding her dancing the audience of American Bandstand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And she's just this little teenage thing, and it's and then me going to the tapings when
Yeah.
I was a little kid, and
Because it's experiences
So-
most people don't have, but you kind of take it for granted a little bit. I
You
guess,
really
when it's-
do.
It's the only thing you know. You've grown up with it.
I just figure everybody had experiences like
Yeah,
that. But
didn't
I
everyone go
guess
to
it's a little
Roseanne?
different being from here.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a cool thing that you sometimes do need to kind of like sit and think about for a moment and be like, oh, wait a minute, I did get to do these kind
Yeah.
of things, which was
I think
really
my
odd.
husband was even on American Bandstand once too.
As a
I'll have
dancer?
to- yeah, as a dancer. I'll have to ask him.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
wonder what bands were on when they. Have you ever seen the
I'll have to ask them.
the Public Image Limited footage from American Bandstand?
No.
It's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
John Lydon's in like typical total asshole form.
Really?
Where he's decided he's not going to mime anything. So he's not singing, but the track is playing and he goes and sits in the audience for the whole song. And then,
Oh my
Dick Clark's
God.
doing his best to try and interview him. And he's all like, no. And when I was younger, I was kind of like, yeah. But now I'm just like, why'd you even go on? I
Yeah,
didn't
why'd
make you
you-
go
why'd
on.
you bother?
Yeah, I'm like, no one forced you to do it. I don't understand why you would go on
Oh
and be
my
like, ugh.
God.
But it's
I've
pretty incredible.
Got to see
Yeah,
that.
that is up online. That's well worth watching.
Do you think that is it Vivian's character from The Young Ones was based on Johnny?
I think so.
Lydon.
I think so. It always,
I always thought they were very much alike.
but he was like if you combine him with Sid Vicious because he was like the muscle a little bit too.
yeah.
And it always weirded me out too because he had very metal on the back of his jacket.
Right,
And I was
right.
like, but that's punk rock. It's
Right.
metal. They're different.
Right, right. I
Which
remember
doesn't
that.
they're really not that different.
Right.
But at the time, I was very confused. I was
Very
like,
confusing.
Wait, so is he? I don't understand now because it was so very very narrow. What like this person's a ska punk and this person's a goth kid and this person's a metalhead. But now it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
Anything that
It's all the same
yeah,
thing.
It's pretty much all the same. We all
It's
like
all the
these.
same thing.
What are some of the other things you got on there? You got Cosby Show and then
Perfect Strangers.
that was a fantastic show.
Yeah.
But.
It wasn't on
Silly.
for very long, was it?
It was about 5 seasons.
Oh, it was 5 seasons.
It was 85 to 91, I think.
I just remember thinking it was just hilariously stupid.
It's very stupid. It's
Yeah.
a lot like I Love Lucy. It's
Yeah.
a very physical. I mean, there's a lot of like everything's gone wrong and things are on
Yeah.
fire, and
Yeah.
and no one got angry like Cousin Larry Appleton. He was just a complete. It was always his
Cousin
fault.
Larry Appleton.
You have to use his full name. You can't just call him Cousin Larry. But he was always like some pompous jerk, and then it was always his fault. So
Yeah.
you're like, yes, this is what you deserve. Cousin
Yeah,
Larry.
that's
I feel
true.
like television now, all the characters are Cousin Larry Appleton. It is the show with
It's
5
true.
Cousin Larrys and no like innocent person that you like on the show.
That's true. That's funny.
It's that weird snark that's taken over everything.
Yeah.
Which is fine in moderation, like most things.
I just realized, I think the even more impressive to me as a kid was the theme songs.
Yes.
That is something, to this day, I probably still remember the theme song more than any of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Great American Hero.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
Yeah.
We don't have those now. There's no theme songs anymore.
No.
What was your absolute favorite? Do you have a
Take
complete
the good, you take
Oh,
the
the Facts of Life.
Take them both, and there you have Facts of Life.
I love the 80s version in the last few seasons where they had the rockin' guitar. It
The-
was like,
oh my God, so
the
weird.
Over our head years.
Yeah.
Alan Thicke from Growing Pains wrote that song.
I
which is
know.
crazy. Yeah.
He wrote a couple others too,
He did.
didn't he?
He wrote Different Strokes, and then my favorite
Different
one.
Strokes.
You did different
Strokes
strokes
to
through the world.
world.
Very 70s.
Yeah.
He hosted like a panel show called Animal Crack-Ups that had
I remember
celebrities.
that.
Yeah, and they answered questions about animals. But
Yeah.
he wrote the theme but sang it as well, which was the best.
I don't know that theme.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Now picture Alan Thicke in his full Alan Thicke, and he's like, it went animals are just like people too. They love their families, they're just like me and you. It's like really like Hasselhoffy. It's fantastic. It's
That's
so fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah. I wish he would
Who
just
knew he could sing?
Yeah, I mean, maybe his son will redo the Animal Crack-Ups theme song as a B-side or something to pay tribute to his
At
dad.
this point, that would probably be the best thing that could
I
happen
think
to
so.
him.
Yeah, the animal. I would also like to see like a top 10 single just called Animal Crack-Ups, which would be fantastic.
That kills.
I always ask musicians, what their favorite theme song was, because in the days before you could really like buy records, or you really had control over the radio, or you only really heard it in the car with your parents, that was the first favorite song many people had, and a lot of
Yeah.
people just watched the show to hear the song.
To hear
every
the
week.
song, yeah.
And they stick in your brain and they're there forever.
Yeah.
And Perfect Strangers tells the story. Well, that was the other one where you get the whole story of what's happened.
Yeah.
And it was also in that weird, like, post Richard Marx genre of like husky voice guy singing the songs.
Husky voice guy.
Sometimes the world looks perfect, like that. Which was, they all had that kind of thing going.
That
Yeah.
cracks me up. I love it.
I miss the theme song sung by someone on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember My Two Dads?
I remember that show.
The guy from BJ and the Bear was
How
in
did
it.
that theme song go?
It went, you can count on me, no matter where you go. Greg Evigan, that was his name. He sang that one, and that was like a
Oh my
big deal.
God.
Yeah, it's a lost
That's
time.
great.
Yeah, if we had like, I don't even know what shows are big now, but like the star of The Walking Dead singing the Walking Dead theme song, which would be great to have it be like the story of it. In that style,
amazing.
yeah, that came up from the graves, like whatever it was. Breaking Bad maybe had like a theme
That
song.
would be so great.
I would like that.
Yeah.
The world needs these.
Yes, the world does need these. And that could be another show for you.
That's true.
Is just writing. See,
80s style
I should be
theme
your
song.
manager.
I know, you're really coming up with these ideas.
I catch
there.
your ideas
Yeah.
and then I turn them into gold.
That's true. You're like a dream catcher.
Dream catcher.
Yes, yeah. Because these
Yeah.
would just be off into the ether otherwise.
Yeah.
Just throwing them out there.
Just remember those ideas.
Yes,
That
yeah.
would be great.
Writing 80s style TV theme songs for current
Modern day,
television
current
shows.
television
That,
shows,
and maybe
yeah.
I'd watch them in that case.
I think I might too.
Yeah, The Wire.
The
Had a
Wire.
Facts of Life style theme song. Which, you know what? You could probably just use the Facts of Life theme song for The
For
Wire.
The Wire,
'Cause
you
there's
could.
good and bad there. And then, yeah.
Kick the good, kick the bad, kick the both, and there you have The Wire.
Do you remember the original Facts of Life theme song that Mrs. Garrett sang and had different lyrics, and it was like, the boys you used to date, or the boys you used to hate you date, and something. It was like way more.
Yeah, and whenever I sing the song, I sing it with her.
Yeah.
Inflection. You kick the good, you
Yeah,
kick
it's
the
got
bad,
that
you kick them both.
yeah.
And everybody's like, that's not how the song
Yeah.
went. But
No,
I
it
went,
did.
no.
Yeah.
That's how it was sung in the beginning.
You were correct.
Yeah,
You were
and
the
someone
right
else
one.
took it over and totally mainstreamed it.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
wasn't as awesome anymore.
No, you wanted that homespun Mrs. Garrett wisdom
Mm-hmm.
in the form of a song.
There you had the Fact of Life.
She just sounded like someone had her on like a chair that was constantly moving. It was just like like a sharper image massage chair when she sang it.
That's true.
Producer's like, I got a great idea to get a cool vocal track here. Get in this chair.
Get
Let's
in
turn it
this
up to like a
chair.
6. We don't want it too crazy. It was slightly shaken. Did you write
brilliant.
Dolly down too? I noticed you.
I didn't write
yeah.
Dolly down because I hadn't watched it, but I've always been a huge Dolly Parton fan.
She's amazing.
I'm in love with her, and we were talking about Tammy Faye.
Yeah.
I'm in love with Tammy Faye Baker.
So that Southern
the Golden
thing.
Girls. Yeah, I mean, I think it's because my daddy's from the South,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think you might be right.
Because Mama's Family, like it all kind of fits in. That
Yeah.
It's just this like sassy Southern ladies kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got to get you the Dolly show because it's incredible.
Okay.
It's a variety show. So she comes out, takes questions from the audience. She opens every show in a bathtub.
What?
Yeah, she does a musical number with whoever the guest is that week.
What?
Then there's a dramatic sitcom in the variety show, or she plays like a truck stop waitress.
Oh my God.
Her sisters show up often, and she like lords over them with her success. It's very great.
Speaking of truck stop waitress, remember Alice?
Yes, yeah. And Flo was the very southern spinoff.
Kiss my grits.
Yeah.
I loved Flo.
That was a comedy spinoff from a dramatic movie. It was a Martin Scorsese movie, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, that they're like, make
Was
this
that
a
the
sitcom.
spinoff of that?
Yeah. It's
Come
a TV
on.
version of Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Don't.
So weird.
How do you know these? You're crazy.
I know. I don't want to know these
You're
things.
crazy. No, you need to know these things so you can tell them to me.
The world needs to know. Yeah, before most people had like Wikipedia and stuff, I would get a lot of like weird late night phone calls from people I hadn't talked to in years. And it would be like, hey,
Wow.
Ken, we dated 10 years ago. Oh, how you doing? Great. What did Alice spin off? Alice's Limerick. Thanks. And it was just
Oh,
like,
my
a lot of that sort of
God.
thing. So there's less need for me now with the internet, but it's still
Yeah.
in here. Yeah, that was a weird dramatic spinoff, and there was like a sitcom of Baghdad Cafe, which was a drama movie, and
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg was in a sitcom version of it.
Wow.
Very weird. 10 Things I Hate About You had a TV series.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The movie TV series were always odd.
Always odd.
Yeah.
And there was, but then 10 Things I Hate About You was supposed to be a remake of The Taming of the Shrew
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that, where there's all of these like Shakespearean referenced films that had come
Yeah.
out in the 90s as well too.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't Clueless one of them?
Clueless was the was it The Tempest, or it was something like
Like
that.
The Tempest or something. Yeah.
And then you had like Shakespeare in Love, and then the Romeo and Juliet with Claire Danes.
Right.
And that was odd that it was like a big junior year English class is really influencing. I guess it makes
Right.
sense because that's when most people are reading that stuff. So why not make versions of it aimed at the people who are actually reading it now? Mm-hmm. That's some executive had a good idea there.
That's true. That's true.
And it was
a good
very
idea.
successful.
Yeah.
What else do we get on there?
Mork and Mindy.
Great spinoff of Happy Days.
Great spinoff of Happy
Very
Days.
weird show.
Very weird spinoff. Like, how did you get there?
I think they backdoor piloted it, which was the term they would use, where they were like, we want a show, but it can't stand on its own, so we're going to shoehorn it into an episode.
Oh,
and then
really?
spin it off. Yeah, that happened on a lot of Facts of Life, actually, where you'd be like, why are we focusing on Blair's boyfriend's military academy for this whole episode for
Right.
no reason?
They did that with the Golden Girls too, didn't
Yes,
they?
Empty
like
Nest.
toward the end, yeah.
Empty Nest spun off, and then Empty Nest had a spin-off, Nurses, which was the rare spin-off of a spin-off.
I didn't know that.
And Golden Palace.
Palace was the spin-off
Yeah,
of the Golden
yeah,
Girls,
which was really weird.
weird.
I think Happy Days might be the show that had the most spin-offs.
I would think so too.
Joni Loves Chachi, Blansky's Beauties,
Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and Shirley,
Also,
Mork
I was
and Mindy.
obsessed with Laverne and Shirley.
Did you like it when they moved to California in the last season? That
I
must have been
didn't
weird.
mind it so much. Usually I'm disturbed when, big changes happen on shows like
Yeah.
that. That didn't bother me so much, but I wrote letters to them when I was
Did
a
you really?
kid.
Did you ever get a response?
No.
Nothing.
Bitches.
We could probably hunt down one of them now and be like, did you get my letter?
Yeah. Did you get my letter?
Did you write a lot of letters to?
I don't know if I wrote them a lot of letters, but I know that I wrote them one letter that was nice and long. I don't know what it was about.
You didn't even get the
But I loved
standard,
them so much.
no autograph photo, nothing.
No.
Wow.
And I wrote to Devo too, and my postcard was returned.
Did you send it to Ohio?
Yeah.
It got returned.
Yeah, because the address that I had was off of one of my sister's records,
Right.
and it was for it was for a fan club that was no longer.
And
So it got returned, and I remember the day it came in the mail, I cried.
That's devastating.
Because I was like, it's the end of Devo.
No,
Hey!
they're not a band anymore.
They're not a band anymore, even though they're still a band.
Yeah.
But I was like, eh.
Mark Mothersbaugh did all the music from Pee-wee.
He did.
Which is
And didn't he
crazy.
do the Rugrats theme
He did
too?
Rugrats too, yeah.
Yeah.
And all that weird stuff was influencing, mainstream pop culture.
Yeah.
And Cindi Lauper singing the theme to Pee-wee, uncredited.
I didn't know
Get out of
that.
bed, there'll be no more nap.
That's her?
That's her doing that kind of Betty Boop voice. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
You're
yeah.
blowing my mind right now.
That is her. She's very versatile.
Wow.
Well, she used to, when she was in that band Blue Angel, which was like a rockabilly band that she had before she went
she was
solo.
Cyndi Lauper?
She used to make money in New York doing sound-alike records. So for like K-Tel, all the hits, she would go in and like sing this Donna Summer song sounding like Donna Summer or sounding like this person because she could do these like character
Wow.
voices, which is really bizarre. And she's uncredited on all of them, obviously, because they credit it as like the First Street Singers or whatever, some generic name for studio musicians.
That's wild.
Yeah, but so she was good at like disguising her voice. But now that you know it, you'll be like, how did I not know? Because it's really obvious when someone
Right.
tells you.
Yeah.
But it's you would never think of it being her. Ever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's very versatile.
You're blowing my mind right now. It's blown.
It's an educational show. Mine's a blown.
It really is.
Anything else on there that we haven't covered? That
Well, we did Doogie Howser and Police Academy too, but
Police Academy 2. Specifically Police Academy 2.
yeah, I saw it in there. I was like, oh yeah, I remember the Police Academy movies.
That's the first one with Bobcat Goldthwait.
yes, the first one.
Yep, and that was the
Which I knew that was that's like the first thing that you've said that I've actually,
that you actually knew.
this whole time.
Police Academy is a weird one because the first one is really dirty.
Really
it's like
dirty.
A real R-rated comedy with blowjob jokes and nudity everywhere.
Well, I remember really liking the Police Academies and the Naked Guns
Yeah.
and the airplane movies.
So those Mad Magazine kind of
Yeah, and I just watched that documentary on
about Mad
on
Magazine?
about National Lampoon.
Oh, yeah.
and all of that sort of humor, and I loved it.
Yeah, I mean they were the bar for comedy in the 70s, 80s, and 90s forever. Because all Saturday Night Live guys came from National Lampoon.
All of them.
And John Hughes came from National Lampoon. And
Chris Guest came from National Lampoon.
The Radio Hour. It's crazy how that just
I had no
spread
idea.
out all over the world.
I had no idea, but yeah, I mean they were the ones creating the humor that I built my entire childhood
Right.
on.
It's like 10
know,
guys set the tone for everything.
Yeah.
Spinal Tap, those guys, they were all
forget
National
it.
Lampoon guys. I mean, it was, it's crazy when you look at that one. It's like a college where everyone that went there did like an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely strange. Police Academy 2 was the first sort of childish one, I think.
Yeah.
And then they had a cartoon.
I didn't know that.
Cartoon and a TV series based on it. I did a show.
I didn't know that.
I did a show with Michael Winslow a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to drop too many names here. But he had a really elaborate stage show with a sampler and a video thing, and he had like a whole guitar pedal thing that he would put his voice. It was crazy.
Wow.
It was really elaborate. Really
wow.
elaborate. Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure he would do his act for you personally because this was in a very small venue. I'm sure it would not be hard to see that. But that was the golden age of Steve Guttenberg.
That was the golden age.
Yeah, when everyone was like, what a hunk, Steve Guttenberg.
I don't think I ever saw him as a hunk, but that was his heyday.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
He's shirtless in a lot of things, so I imagine that's by design.
No,
yeah,
no.
I know. Couldn't do that now.
I don't like it.
3 Men
I
and a
don't like
Baby.
the idea. No, no.
He made a really weird movie with Shelley Long called where he was like a Lorenzo Lamas style, like badass with long hair.
I don't know where they
motorcycle.
came at that.
Yeah.
Steve Guttenberg is the hunk. I don't know. I just don't see it.
No,
not
80s
at
were
all.
A strange time. Strange time.
I don't like. I had a Mork and Mindy lunch pail and thermos. Like I couldn't see him on a lunch pail and thermos.
Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably was,
I bet he was
at
on
some point.
the Police
but
Academy cartoon version. So like
Probably.
a drawing of him was.
Yeah,
but
drawing.
Not actual him. What Steve Guttenberg movie would get on a lunch? Maybe Cocoon. But then you'd have Brian Dennehy on there as well and Wilford Brimley. I would have a Wilford Brimley lunchbox. And it
cocoon lunchbox.
Yeah, cocoon lunchbox. It makes your food fresh again. It's perfect. Perfect, Spielberg. Missed a trick with merchandising that.
You did.
Yes.
They should have hired us.
I know.
Too bad we can't turn back the clock.
Any 80s movies you want to have maybe non-traditional merchandise from, we're going to start a company. You come to us, and we will give you a list of things that you can do for that ties in well.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for doing the show. It's been great talking to you.
Likewise. We're going to be huge.
Yeah, we're going to have so much money. It's going to be ridiculous. We'll buy this whole
make you
neighborhood.
rich.
Yeah.
As your dream catcher.
Exactly. Dreamcatcher Productions is the name of the Dreamcatcher Management.
Oh, baby, I see you in my teeny said, yeah, baby, I see you in my teeny said, I cut your head off and put it in my teeny.
There you go. I told you. She's great. That was a really, really fun episode. Also, for the record, both Monique and I are incredibly wealthy now. We are really, really rich from all those amazing ideas we came up with in that episode. So if you want money, I'm not going to give it to you. I just have it piled in my house right now, and I dive into it Scrooge McDuck style. But you can come up with your own interviews and get your own Dreamcatcher manager, and you too could be living the American dream. I again had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of really fun stuff in that episode, and I'm sure you enjoyed listening to it, and want to thank Monique again for sitting down, taking the time to talk to me. Really appreciate it. She could not have been nicer. And definitely check out Save Ferris's new stuff. It's really great, and hopefully they'll be doing some more national touring. So if you have a chance to see them live, I highly recommend it. I will put up links to all their social media stuff on tvguidancecounselor.com. We have brand new episodes of the show here every single Wednesday, so be sure to be here then and subscribe on iTunes so you don't miss episodes. We often do bonus episodes on other days of the week with little to no notice, sort of like pop quizzes, but good things. So be sure to subscribe and you won't miss these episodes. And if you like the show, rate and review the show on iTunes. It's a huge help to get the word out there. You can also email me at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or at ken@icanread.com, icanread.com being my stand-up comedy page. I am a stand-up comedian, as I mentioned. I also have a new stand-up comedy album out. It's an hour of stand-up called The Vanity Project, Volume 1, Hollywoodland. You can pick that up, or my EP, which is 30 minutes of different material and called Pilot Season, came out last year. You don't have to. I'm not going to force you to buy them, but I just thought you should know. As I said, you can email me at those addresses, or you can search us on Facebook, TV Guidance Counselor, and like us there and hear all about our news and discussion with other listeners of the show. Or you can tweet to me at TV Guidance. Love hearing from you guys. And I will see you again next time on a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
I could hear it too, but I won't do it. You're not allowed to wear a shirt. If I was a Mooney, I would probably do it that way too.
I'm walking on air.
You're crazy.
I know.